Okay, so like we said, the next thing that we want to do with the API is we want to go ahead and enable dependency injection. Uh, what this does makes our controller easy to test and also easy to swap in case there's a different type of repository in the future. So we're going to demonstrate dependency injection, and we want to be able to pass the interface to our repository through the constructor. So our interface to our repository, not the actual, repository concrete class. So the first thing, and in order to do this, we're going to be using a container called Ninject, which is IOC container. So to get started, first thing that we do is we go back to our controller, and we'll go ahead and create a constructor. And in this constructor, we want to go ahead and insert a I counting case repository, call it repository, and then we want to go ahead and assign a local field variable to this repository. And we can use Visual Studio to create our field, to generate our field right here. But of course, if we just try to run this, it wouldn't work, because it would be breaking, because first of all, there's no type of infrastructure that we have in place that would support this. In other words, this is not being instantiated anywhere as of right now. And also that by default, the constructor cannot take any parameters. So in order for us to be able to instantiate this somewhere, we use a container called Ninject. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and use the NuGet package to add it. And it's an Ninject MVC3, and I just click install. So now that it's installed, in our app start we have Ninject web common.cs class, and in here in register services we need to go ahead and register, or tell this magical Ninject that what we want to do is we want to instantiate the instance of our repository class through our interface. So we use the kernel, and we use bind, and then we go ahead and do our interface I counting case repository. So I went ahead and typed it in first correctly, and then I'll just go ahead and add the reference to our data. So we went ahead and binded counting case repository to the interface to our concrete class, and then since this also needs the context, we can go ahead and bind it here too, and this will magically know that every time we need the context, it will be able to instantiate it and pass it in. And here this counting case context is now binded to its instantiated object. But if you run this, it will still be coming up with the same error, and that's because the Ninject out of the box doesn't know how to work with Web API. So we need to support Web API. In order to do this, we need to go ahead and add another NuGet package. This NuGet package is going to be this guy right here, Web API contrib.ioc.inject. So and there it is, ioc.inject. We go ahead and install it. Now the reference has been added. So what we do here is we use this global configuration dependency resolver, and we pass in the Ninject resolver, which is a part of our contrib, and this should add support to our web API into our Ninject. And let's try to run it. And as you can see, now our web API is working again. It's bringing back the our data back from the SQL Server. So that's basically how easy it is to, get support of dependency injection into the MVC or Web API application. So the next thing that I'll display is how to massage the data between these entities, and when we're trying to bring it into our application, there's certain ways that this can be done, and that's what I'm going to do next.